I'm down here because I'm concerned about this country.
I think people want their government back. They're tired of the bureaucrats. They're tired of the politicians stealing us blind.
This is the gross national debt. This is the amount of money that the United States owes and the amount of money that we pay every year in interest.
Over here, we can overthrow the government and have a revolution by voting in a voting booth. People got to get out there, you got to vote, and you got to vote these people out.
I'm mad, just like every other American here, and I came here to fight for my grandchildren because I want them to have the same freedoms that I grew up with.
They want to run 16% of your life. They want to make your choices. It's not a matter of them giving you anything. It's what they're taking from us.
Good evening. Welcome to Real Americans. I'm your host, Allen Hardage. Thank you for joining us again. I've got a very special guest with us tonight. You know, the last time we met together on your laptop or computer, we talked about the 9/12 rallies that took place in Washington, D.C. And one of the things that we saw in those rallies was really just a general discontent that the American people feel like they're not being listened to. Well, tonight, you're going to get the answers to why you've been watching the gold prices skyrocket over the last week, why you've been hearing about the United Nations devaluing the dollar and talking about moving away from it as its backstop currency for the IMF. And more importantly, you're going to hear what the impact of that's going to be on the American consumer and the American small business person. With me tonight is J. Gregory Howard from Pan US Trading Incorporated. He's the CEO and principal of that. And he works in this field every single day. He trades commodities and gold and money from countries all over the world. And tonight we're going to get to the bottom of this. Maybe not fully, but we're going to get a good start into it. So, Greg, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Alan.
It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Glad to be here with you.
Tell us a little bit about what Pan US Trading does to begin with.
Pan US Trading is actually a corporation that was formed for the trade of commodities, specifically oil-related products of jet fuel, crude oil, and diesel.
Okay.
And in the last year, we've had to venture into the other area of precious metals. And a year ago, I was telling people about this, that many of our customers overseas were shying away from the dollar and asking us to make payment in gold whenever possible.
So let me get this straight. You were buying all these different commodities, but they no longer wanted to fund those purchases with the U.S. dollar.
They were looking for options outside of the U.S. dollar.
Wow.
And so we started an entirely different company to instigate the trade of precious metals.
Now, this is not your only company. You're the CEO of like 5 companies. Is that correct?
Correct. My partner and I own several different companies, and they're all involved in different areas of trade. We have one, Botfuda, that does just food products. And so we're involved in up to our eyeballs every day in doing commodity trades and the banking system.
So this week we saw the price. It had a siren on it on Drudge. I think it was Friday last week, if I remember correctly, where the price of gold had jumped about $38 overnight. Is that right?
It did, but that's nothing. Go back and look at it from 2003 forward, and you've seen gold go from something roughly in the $300 range now to $1,000 in this time period. Supply of gold in the worldwide is pretty much known. The amount of gold that comes into the market going back 600 years. So you can pretty well they pretty much know how much the flow of fresh gold is into the marketplace. But with the dollar, watching gold rise, the cost of gold rise, has really been more to the devaluation of the dollar and the weakening of our dollar than it has been anything else.
Wow. So just like a farmer knows how much, if he plants a certain amount of crops, he knows what he's going to get as a yield out of those crops. You're telling me that we know pretty much how much. Is it gold ore? Am I using the right term?
They actually call it doré.
Doré, okay. So we know about how much of that we're going to get. Where does most of that come from in the world?
Let's see if I can remember this in order. Let's see. United States is the second highest producer. Australia is the third, and Africa is the first.
Africa's
South
first.
Africa,
Georgia.
yeah.
The
United States, right? I was trying to remember.
And then Australia.
Yeah.
Wow. Australia is surprising to me, I'll be honest with you. So when I was talking to you earlier today, you were talking about the fact that, this has not been a recent activity. It's been something that's been going on for a very long time.
You look at every price, the price of all these commodities that are traded internationally, and it's only a reference point to our dollar as to what we pay for it. It has nothing more to do with the stability and the solvency of that currency that you're using to purchase it. So if you're using yen or anything else, the fluctuation's based on how stable your government keeps that currency.
So the story that was in the Drudge Report talked about the oil trading companies oil trading countries, including France, Russia, China, Japan, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, several of these countries wanting to move away from the United States dollar and go to what they call a basket currency, which takes the United States dollar and mixes it in with some yen and some yuan. Is that how you pronounce that? The Chinese yuan?
Chinese yuan.
Chinese yuan. And a new currency that is being created. Who's creating this new currency?
I didn't see that part.
No. Well, the article said it was the Arab Cooperation Council, and so that would be I think Qatar was in there, Abu Dhabi was in there.
Abu Dhabi, Mumbai, Qatar. Those countries would probably align.
So, Greg, here's my question: why is this happening?
For the last 100 years, the United States dollar has been the stalwart of the world markets. And part of it, one is jealousy, and the other part is just the absolute mismanagement of our currency by our government. Ever since we came off the gold standard, we've watched the decline of our dollar. And at this point, right now, we probably have less, around a penny per dollar if we're lucky.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So only a penny per dollar?
Something around a penny per dollar.
Back as recently as what, the 1960s, 1962, 1964, right? Didn't we have silver-backed currency?
We had dollar and silver.
Okay.
We had both in the Treasury. And there's gold there. There's a lot of gold there. But the more you print, you dilute. It's dilution. You dilute what's there. And so the more money is put into print, the less there is versus that currency.
So what we've seen since this administration's been in office, we're what, 8-9 months into this now. We've seen the debt and the deficit both skyrocket. What is that doing to drive or slow down this process?
Well, we've added $1.4 trillion of debt this year to our deficit. And we are running right now about $12.4 trillion on the debt that's on the books. There is unwritten debt that the American taxpayer doesn't know, but go check the Congressional Budget Office. There are unfunded mandates that have already been passed that are totaling somewhere around $70 trillion that aren't being accounted for yet. And these are going to be coming on to us as we go forward. So we have yet to start to see the devaluation.
Wait a minute, let's stop right there for a second. Yeah. 70 trillion?
Yes.
Where are these unfunded mandates at?
It's just different health care bills, different, there's things like with FEMA. You just start going down the list. Any agency, and I'm trying to remember some statistics here, but FEMA, if I remember, has $18 billion worth of programs unfunded still. They've been passed by Congress, but they've yet to be funded. And you can go through every one of the agencies and get a story just like that of unfunded mandates.
So what we're talking about here is basically, let's use the analogy of our family. If we didn't pay our debts and we just kept racking up that debt over and over and over and over again, that's basically what our government has been doing, and now that debt's being called.